Hello, and welcome to this edition of Secure Networks, the Endace Packet Forensic Files, with your host, Michael Morris. This week's guest is Kamal Khlefat, Product Manager for LinkShadow. Kamal, welcome. Thank you for joining. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your background?
Thank you, Michael. First of all, allow me to take this chance to thank you for hosting me today with you. It's a pleasure to be a part of your series. As you said, I am the product manager of LinkShadow, and I will start from here. As a product manager, I'm responsible for bridging between our clients and our clients' needs and what they wish to see in LinkShadow, and translate it for the engineering team in order to develop it into the solution so our clients can see what they actually want to see and want to get from LinkShadow. And also I'm responsible to build relations and to build friendship with our vendor friends like Endace, like yourself, and to have an ecosystem for LinkShadow for seamless and out-of-the-box integration with other vendors. Previously, I have been senior SE for LinkShadow. I have been involved in technical activities, sales activities. I've been working as a technical in LinkShadow. Before that, also, I've been an SE for IBM SIM Solution. And I'm a SOC guy. I started my career as a SOC analyst, graduated from the SOC as a SOC analyst, SOC consultant, implementer. I have implemented multiple security operations and SIM solutions, like the implementation for HSBC here in Saudi. It was the third biggest HSBC implementation. Also as a SIM consultant, so I built like 200 rules for HSBC Bank. So I have the rich background from the SOC, and this is how I have developed it all the way to become a product manager for LinkShadow, which is a SOC tool and a platform that will address all the challenges for the SOC. So we are building it from a SOC perspective. So this is why it's important for us. And also our team from the engineering have the SOC background. So we all know the challenges of the SOC, and we are developing the solution from this perspective. So this is me.
Well, your background fits perfect why I wanted to talk to you today, because we're hearing a lot of industry buzzword, new buzzword about organizations modernizing the SOC.
Yeah.
And so I want to hear from you, a SOC expert. What does this mean from your perspective, and what's driving it?
Yeah, that's right. So the SOC nowadays, and what we used to call the next generation SOC, is now a legacy for what we have nowadays. And the new norm is what we are trying to drive our SOC to. So what we are facing nowadays, and what we tried to move from the legacy SOC to the next generation SOC. So we started to add tools, more tools, trying to do the automations and the legacy way. We ended up with a sheer number of tools, and we've been paying a lot. So the SOC was very expensive. We need a lot of resources. We ended up having a lot of tools with no people skilled enough to handle all of these tools, and number of people to handle all of these tools. So if I'm working, for example, at HSBC as an example, and the HSBC needs a SIM consultant, another bank needs a SIM consultant, and another bank needs more SIM consultants. So there is a skill gaps. There's a limitation on how much they can hire and how much they can pay for both, for technologies and for peoples, for automations. The challenges that we started to face in our SOC is actually driving us to move from what we used to call as next generation to the modern SOC. So the modern SOC is the SOC that we all dream about. It's an automation for the SOC analyst, let's call it the machine learning based SOC analyst, or artificial intelligence based SOC analyst, if I may say so.
Yeah.
So what we are trying to achieve in our modern SOC, and when we approach our clients, whether it was LinkShadow or any other security vendor, all of the vendors are doing or putting a lot of effort. So salute to everyone out there. So what we are trying to do is we are trying to lift the level of automation in the security operations center in order to maximize the protection, the efficiency, the return of investments from the SOC with minimal total cost of ownership and with minimal risk posture. So this is what we are trying to achieve when it comes to the modern SOC nowadays.
Okay, no, that's perfect. And you kind of probably hit on some of my next question, in that what you just
Yeah.
described. But as you engage with SOCs, what do you see most of them still struggling with today or missing from a tool set or a competency that's really driving that modernization?
Yeah, so basically, when it comes to the sheer number of tools and the complexity of these tools, there's a lot of SOC nowadays and SOC analysts and let's say organizations are struggling to combine the view of their security. It's scattered, if you may say so. It's a scattered view, so you can't be able to combine everything in one screen. The SOC analysts have to go from here to there, and this is waste for their time. So it takes a lot for the investigation and for the response. Now, there's a lot of new tools that's helping the let's say the SOC to fast forward the investigation. Now, this is another problem, right? So there's a sheer number of tools, but the organization is not leveraging from the integration between these tools. Okay. So if I have, for example, like Endace, if I have a tool like Endace, if I integrate with Endace, it will be much easier to reach for a packet capture, correct? Right. So it will be much, much faster for my investigation than go and do the packet capture manually and then try to investigate it manually.
Yeah.
So this is what I can see now, that they are missing combining and leveraging from the integrations. And this is actually leading to something which is making the SOC very costly. So when you go out there and you ask someone to secure their environment, the first thing that it will hit their mind is the cost. I don't have enough budget, but you can build your SOC and you can build your security with minimum budget right now. You have automations, you have security tools that can do multiple things and cover multiple areas and multiple gaps in your environment with the minimal cost. You have CapEx, you have OpEx. You don't have to pay everything in one shot. Mm-hmm. So this is leading to actually, if I may say, increasing the cost of the SOC and of the protection. So this is also something that I can see that some are doing very well and some are actually missing.
No, that's a great point. Tool disconnect is a very common thing. The other thing we're seeing a lot, and you kind of touched on it a little bit, is just the sheer alert volumes. And I don't like the word alert fatigue, but just the volume of events and incidents that are coming in from all these different tools. Yes. What are you seeing customers do to address that? I know you mentioned automation earlier, but is there other things they're doing in terms of quantifying the types of alerts or anything?
This is one thing actually that I want to highlight, that what they are doing and what they are not doing. What they are not doing, and not everyone, of course, there are very, very mature security operations centers out there, but what I can see that there's some gaps for some organizations where they are not prioritizing the incidents in the right way. So you have out-of-the-box prioritization for some tools in the SOC, but what are the metrics that they are relying on in order to prioritize these incidents? So when I receive an incident, what are the metrics that I'm calculating in order to get the actual threat that I will get from this, comparing to that alert? So I need an accurate risk scoring. So this is what the rest are doing. They are using tools and platforms like LinkShadow and other vendors that are prioritizing the incidents. Now, I can say and I can highlight how LinkShadow is doing it in a different way that is making it more accurate and touching the right points for the clients, like the risk scoring, like highlighting what is a risky asset and what is a critical asset, what is risk user and what's critical user. And from here, the client will be able to know where they should start the investigation. Now, after that, you need to automate the investigation. The manual investigation is not sufficient anymore. Now, I know that there's a level 1 SOC, level 2, escalation level, maybe SOC team leader, but you can automate the whole level 1, right? You can automate the prioritization, the information gathering, the evaluation, the threat intelligence collection, the data of the threat intelligence, the packet capture or packet capturing. You can automate all of that. So if we are automating the investigation, if we are automating the collection, the prioritization, so what is left? Taking an action, we can automate that, right? So this is what we should do, and what already a lot of organizations are doing when it comes to the managing the alert fatigue.
No, that's some excellent points in there. A lot of rich nuggets for people to walk away with. One of the things I was really excited to have this interview with you on in particular is your perspective, right? Geographically, you're in Saudi. Are you seeing any differences in what customers are doing between critical segments, whether that's government? You mentioned your experience with HSBC, so in the finance or energy, retail. Are you seeing differences of where people are investing or prioritizing, or just changing their behaviors?
Yeah, that's definitely right. So, there's a lot of organizations nowadays, especially in Saudi. It's very well secured when it comes to the privacy. So they totally air gap networks. So when it comes to the air gap network, they have a different thing that they worry about than an open networks like the retail stores or e-commerce and so on. So we work with e-commerce, and we work with retails, and we work with governments and finance. So we find that the requirements are different. Now we looked at the web threats are a huge matter when it comes to the e-commerce, for example, and for banks, the emails are very, very critical. The callback that's happening is also a major threat that they are facing. However, for some parts of the government, especially the air-gapped government, the internal user activities is way more important, and this is what they are focusing on, even more than the network, because they have air-gapped network. The network externally is totally separate, so it can be investigated, and they can actually work on that separately. But the critical data, the important data that they should look at is an air-gapped network. So there's logins happening inside. There's no network connections. So if I send there a network monitoring tool, it will find nothing. There's no network. It's all about the users and the user activity, and not only the user activity as in known attacks. There's no such thing as known attacks. You cannot predict anything. So you need to learn on what's happening there, and based on what's happening there, you need to react, right? So you cannot predict what will happen without knowing what is the environment and how the environment acts. So that's why we're talking nowadays about the automation using the machine learning-based artificial intelligence, and how the supervised and unsupervised machine learning algorithms can help in that.
No, well, and you're leading right into my next question, so I appreciate that. We are seeing here, certainly in the West, in the US in particular, a lot more embracing of SOAR platforms, so orchestration automation platforms. Are you seeing the same level of uptake of them? And what do you see some of the challenges organizations facing as they deploy SOAR technologies?
Yeah, so a lot of organizations now, they already deployed, there's a lot that already deployed the SOAR, but there's still a lot of organizations that are missing the technologies to integrate with in order to develop the SOAR. So this is one thing when it comes to technology. The SOAR needs to have the technology, right, to take the right action. They have to have the process set right. So if the process is not set, the procedures are not set correctly, the action that you can take can lead to a business corruption, right, or a business issue. You might turn off an ATM for a bank if the automation is done totally automated without a revision from the SOC analyst. And it actually happened as an incident in one of the banks, if I remember right, for 2 days, they couldn't use the ATMs because of the IAM. If I remember, the technology was the IAM. It took an action, and it disconnected one of the users, or deleted, or I don't know. I don't want to go into details, but it removed some permissions from one of the users, and the ATMs were totally down. So for 2 days, it was like a major challenge for the bank. It was like a catastrophic issue. So it happened due to the automation. So it's the blessing and the curse. So if you do it right, you are on the safe side. If you do it wrong, you have to deal with it. It might lead to business issues. So this is why the procedures that you are following, the policies that you set are very important in order to build the SOAR in the right way. So luckily, LinkShadow can integrate seamlessly with any SOAR that we are already signed up with, like for example, Palo Alto XSOAR as an example. So we can seamlessly integrate and take the required action, but the customer needs to have the tools that takes the action, that automates the action, right? The playbooks will actually need the people, the process, and then the technology. So the SOC and the SOAR is a major tool in the SOC, and we rely heavily also on the SOAR to take the actions in order to protect the customer in the right way.
Okay, no, that's key. I mean, that's kind of one of the things I wanted to get your other insights on is you mentioned the SOAR's got to have the right sources of information. So what are some of those foundational pieces that you recommend any new, updated, modern SOC ensure they have and able to keep pace with the new types of threats and threat actors?
Very important question. Actually, I was discussing this with my colleague today, and we have a new joiner, and I was enabling him in some of the sales strategy that we go through. That we have some challenges right now with the customer environment in general. It's not a challenge of any technologies. It's basically this is how what happens. For example, if you go to a client nowadays, you need a network visibility, right? So if you need a network visibility, you need to have a span. The span is a major issue right now. Everyone needs a span. Literally everyone needs a span. The SIM solution, the database activity monitoring, the network monitoring, the NDR, everyone. So what the customer should have, first of all, they should have a full network visibility and a full, for example, a tapping solution. Now, also, the customer cannot provide a full packet capture for everyone. So they need to have a solution to capture from a different segments in the network and have it in a one way. So everyone can integrate with that technology, right? So no need to give a full PCAP to everyone. A very important thing that the customer should have is automation. The automation is very important. Now, what's happening out there? Everyone is using artificial intelligence from social media. Maybe if you open YouTube now, you see a thing that you were talking about. Why? Because of the artificial intelligence, right? Yeah. So the cybersecurity should also be onboarded in the artificial intelligence. So this is when you look at the attackers. If you look at what they are trying to do, they are trying to attack you using the artificial intelligence and doing the machine learning. If you are using static-based rules, if you are using behavioral-based rules, scenario-based rules, against the automation, it's like you are bringing a knife in a gunfight, right? So even the attackers are manipulating the artificial intelligence in some of the organization in order to play around it. So that's why you need to have a high level of automation that will actually protect you against these attackers. And one last thing that maybe no one is actually talking about nowadays, which is the management visibility. Let me ask you one thing. If today you know the challenge about the automation, you as a SOC analyst, you know the challenge, as a SOC team leader maybe, or a SOC manager, or security head, you know the challenge about the automation. Who will give you the budget to acquire this technology? Right. It's the management. So the management needs to have a clear visibility on what's happening in the SOC. You cannot go to the management and show them the attacks and how the attacks are happening. You need to give them risk posture. You need to give them the return of investments of the automation if it was implemented correctly. You need to give your management the total cost of ownership of that technology comparing to the ROI of the same technology to be approved very quickly. I've been reading a report a couple of days ago. I don't remember exactly the ratio, but giving your CEO a request without an ROI, it is very likely to be disregarded comparing to if you give it with an ROI for that request. So it's very important to give a management report, a full management report, and you will address it to the management in a different way. You have a technical management for the SOC that they need to know the KPIs of the security operations, the KPIs of the security environment and the security tools in general. And you have management, they are not technical.
Right.
Yeah, they are business. So you need to know, and you need to talk to them in a business language, and the risk behind this. If I got attacked, if the attack got executed, what is the risk behind it? What is the cost behind it?
Mm-hmm.
So if you give them, I don't want to say that you will freak them out, but basically you will alert them to actually work proactively and to acquire the technologies that they need. So automation, management dashboard, network visibility, network packet capture collection, all of that, and of course the full-fledged SIM and the modern SIM is what we are encouraging our clients to deploy using whatever technology that they wish. You can actually use open source technologies, right? So I'm not driving them to a certain company, for example, but we are driving them to the modern SOC. This is what we are trying to address.
And that's a perfect answer, because I mean, you're right. Every tool is going to be different for each environment. And these are just the table stakes that you're recommending. And so that's great insights. Kamal, one thing we always like to ask our guests for our listeners is, be a little bit of a forecaster here. So with your experience in the industry, what do you recommend our listeners really look out for or think about over the next 6 to 18 months? Now, 18 months in the security industry is an eternity, right? But if you were to say, one thing you should keep your eye on as a CISO or a director of a SOC, what do you think that one thing is that people should really be paying attention to?
Well, with the pandemic that we went through last year, hopefully it will not be repeated again. It was like, we are lucky we are back to office. And we are lucky that we have the vaccines now, but it's not over yet. There's a lot of attacks that were developed, especially after the pandemic and addressing the pandemic issues. So I don't want to go in like deep details, but in general, the web threats that are being developed is way more advanced and way more critical than any time before. Everyone is on the web right now. As we speaking right now, we are using the conferencing technologies, right? You have sent me a link, so this link might be legit, right? It might be a phishing link that have been received from someone else. Our conversation might be sniffed, right? So today, if you look around, you will see that a lot of organizations have been using the traditional way of transferring data. This has been fine when we are using the same internal network and sharing file over like open text or plain text files over the network. It was somewhat fine when we are using the internal network one-to-one together. But now, if you are sending files over the network, you don't know who are looking at your files. So you need to look very closely into your privacy. You need to change your passwords frequently. You need to look at each and every link that you are clicking. You need to know who are sending you emails. You need to look out for phishing emails. I know that there's a email security and all of that, but email securities are not enough, because you can detect something with the email security, but you cannot get the probability of that being a phishing email because the domain has been created like 2 days ago and it looks similar to one known domain. It's very critical nowadays. It's very advanced. Right. You know how many domains with COVID mentioned in it? How many emails that are being sent to me that you have received a shipment and it's waiting you in the mail? Why? Because for myself, every day I order something online ever since the pandemic started, and everyone is doing the same. Yes. So when we are addressing this to the customer, it's actually because for me in LinkShadow, I see that like 80% of the detections that I can find is web threats. One thing. Another thing is now the dynamic behavior activities that we find. Today you need to work from home. Tomorrow you need to work from office. You went to office, you find someone infected, you have to go back 2 weeks to 3 weeks in there to work from home. So all of that is dynamic behavior. Yeah. So what you need to look at is from the static use cases that you are using, static policies that you are using, you are not securing yourself enough, because when the behavior is changing, when it's becoming dynamic, you are not coping with this dynamic behavior.
Yeah.
You need to be dynamic, similar to the behavior. And again, I'm repeating myself here, but the automation is the answer for all of that.
No, that's tremendous insight. Your comment, just to close on it. Yeah, I read an article just yesterday, I think it was, about there's a new trend with spoofing CEO updates to their corporations about COVID updates, and using those as a phishing vehicle. So, I mean, you nailed it on the head on that one. So, Kamal, thank you for joining, sharing your tremendous insights and expertise on how to better secure networks. We'd ask our listeners to tune in next time for another edition of the Endace Packet Forensic Files. For more information about Endace's network packet capture platform and our integrations with our Fusion technology partners like LinkShadow, please go to endace.com. Kamal, again, thank you for joining.
Thanks
Appreciate
to you,
your time,
Michael, for
and have a
having me
great
today.
rest of your day.
Thanks to you, and I wish you a pleasant day.